is one of the most interesting things that you can do in Hearthstone. Beyond playing Nosdormu the Eternal, one of the most interesting things that you can do in a Hearthstone game is blocking out Pirate Warrior turn after turn after turn with your Shudderwock. And in this case, I'm deliberately missing lethal just because I want to keep on playing my Shudderwocks. Again and again and again, turn after turn after turn. Now, you could be looking at this and thinking, hang on a minute, Darkseeker, that's BM. You're bullying the Pirate Warrior. I would not call this BM. I would call this stress relief. If you think back to the Stormwind expansions, for the last few months, Pirate Warrior with the questline has been a dominant deck on the Wild Mode ladder. It has been, for people like me, a somewhat frustrating deck to play against because I like playing my off-meta decks, particularly Shudderwock decks, and there's some other things that I like to play as well, but my focus mostly is on playing off-meta decks, and Pirate Warrior with the questline has made that quite challenging. In particular, due to the Juggernaut. The early waves of pirates are less of a problem. You can get rid of those, you can control the board. It's the Juggernaut and the endless value with a weapon and a new pirate being generated and, you know, the cannon shots that hit you. It's the endless endgame value generation that Pirate Warrior has that's made it quite difficult to beat them. And finally, now, with the Alterac Valley expansion, you find yourself in situations like this, where the opponent has not been able to play Rakara, the questline reward, so there's no Juggernaut on the board. They're board locked completely. All they can do every turn is armor up, or equip a weapon if they have one available. So, this is incredible. This is truly great. Because their fate is inevitable. They are gonna die to the Shudderwock. But when I say so. For now, I just want to stall a bit more, draw some more cards. Oh, we got a bird! We could do this all over again! But no, let's put them out of their misery. There we go. But credit to my opponent for allowing me to continue on with those Shudderwock shenanigans. I felt so much better after doing that. That was 3 months of stress relieved in one game. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what deck am I playing today? I am playing Boltzmann's Freeze Shudderwock Shaman deck. That is the deck that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. However, before we get into the deck and really talk about how it works and your strategies for playing it, I would just quickly like to compare it to the EnDjinn Freeze Shudderwock Shaman deck. I published a video yesterday on the EnDjinn deck. That's the deck on the right hand side of your screen. And for those of you that watched my video yesterday, you're probably wondering what the differences are between the EnDjinn deck and the Boltzmann deck. Well, let's just quickly go through those differences. So, the EnDjinn deck, yes, it gave me a very positive win rate in the video that I showcased. But the Boltzmann deck has also been very positive for me too. There is some card differences. So, in the Boltzmann deck, there is no Brukan of the Elements, okay? There's no Living Dragon Breath. There is no Kazakus, no Instructor Fireheart, and there's only one copy of Wind Fury. And the Boltzmann deck includes 2 armor vendors. Okay, so those are some of the key differences that you can see. The Boltzmann deck also has the likes of Saronite Chain Gang, 2 copies of it. In other words, the Boltzmann deck has some of the more traditional Shudderwock elements that we're used to seeing from the months gone by. Okay, so that's a quick comparison of the 2 decks. But now, let us focus purely on the Boltzmann deck, and let's just talk about how this works. So everything that I'm about to tell you is courtesy of Boltzmann himself. So I think it was, a late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, it may have been 1 AM, as I often tend to have these conversations with Boltzmann at these strange times. And as I was chatting to Boltzmann, he said to me, I've got this deck that I think you'd really enjoy. And I gave the deck a try, and I thought, bloody hell, this is pretty great. I mean, it's no surprise, it's a Boltzmann deck. Of course it's going to be great. And at that point I thought, okay, I need to publish a video on this deck. I thought I was done with video publishing for the weekend. I'd published my video on the awesome EnDjinn deck, which is a lot of fun to play. And I thought, okay, I'm done. But then here comes Boltzmann with an amazing deck, and I thought, okay, I need to publish a video on this because suddenly I'm now feeling incredibly motivated to play Hearthstone. That's what Boltzmann does to you, right? He motivates you with these amazing deck creations, and that is purely evidence that supports why everyone needs a Boltzmann in their life. So, when we are looking at the Boltzmann deck, let's just note a couple of things. Firstly, there is no Snowblind Harpy in the deck. The EnDjinn deck played Snowblind Harpy, which is a 5 armor gain, but Boltzmann prefers Healing Rain instead. So Healing Rain does heal you for more than the armor you gain from the Harpy, and it's part of the nature tribe. So when you are playing Primal Dungeoneer, of course, you can draw your nature spell and you can get your elemental as well. And drawing elementals is, of course, a very useful thing to do. Snowblind Harpy, I guess you could view it as a spider tank with a little bit of armor gain, okay? That, when you compare it to Healing Rain, just doesn't seem as good. Boltzmann, of course, has added armor vendors in this deck. I'm a huge fan of armor vendor. I do think that the survivability that it can give you is pretty awesome, particularly when you're repeating those battle cries with the Shudderwock, or midway through the game, playing armor vendor and Macaw, when you're really desperate for a little bit of armor. Playing Armor Vendor and Zola if you're, again, massively desperate. I just think the survivability from Armor Vendor is a really awesome thing. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of that card. Boltzmann does note this is not a control deck, it's more like a combo deck. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you play it. The freeze synergy is limited in this deck. Think of this deck as a strange, odd Shudderwock Shaman deck with some freeze cards that add utility, but above all else, it's just an interesting take on Shudderwock Shaman. The focus is to play the Shudderwock. The freeze part is a secondary aspect of the deck, but important still. And the deck's power really comes from those traditional Shudderwock Shaman interactions. Okay, that's how I would summarise the deck. In terms of your strategy, against aggro, you play for tempo. Against combo decks, you disrupt them as best as you can. If you get to turn 5, you've got the options of Loatheb against spell-based classes, or the Snowfall Guardian against aggressive opponents that build wide boards. And at that point, you can put Wind Fury on the Snowfall Guardian, and you can just win the game in that manner. Or you can keep freezing the board if possible, right? You can play another Snowfall Guardian, or you can use a Macaw to repeat the Snowfall Guardian battle cry. So, as you then head to the final stages of the game, you can then play the Shudderwock to completely lock your opponent out. Play Zola on the Shudderwock if needed, get another Shudderwock back to hand. So alongside this plan, you've got Windchill generation. Windchill, of course, helps you to freeze enemy minions, but you've then got Bolner and Sleetbreaker to help with more generation of wind chills. And the idea there is you keep stalling on the board whilst drawing cards too through Windchill. Zentimo can freeze for 3, draw for 3. I think that's incredibly powerful. So because of Windchill, card draw is a strong function of this deck, and I think has added something incredibly great to Shudderwock Shaman. Okay, but do remember, this deck does have your regular and familiar Shudderwock shenanigans in it. You know, I'm looking at the Armor Vendors, Zola, the Chain Gangs, the Loatheb, the Dungeoneers, and so on. So for those of us that are traditional Shudderwock players, we can take comfort in these old effects that we love and know. Keep in mind, you can tech cards in and out of this deck depending on the pocket meta that you're in. So if you're facing lots of odd hunters, you can take out one Healing Rain and put in one Spellwood Jula. Okay, let's have a look at the deck then in action on the Wild Mode ladder, and we're going to be starting out against a hunter. Okay, Primal Dungeoneer looks like a good keep. And it's a hunter, so Loatheb is also very good. Good for disrupting their questline progression in terms of playing spells.
None will survive.
Right. You will have to forgive me for any misplays. As you saw with the EnDjinn video that I published yesterday on that Freeze Shaman deck, I had made a number of misplays throughout that video, missing lethals on a couple of occasions, misunderstanding a couple of the cards. I'm still trying to wrap my head around some of the freeze mechanics. So yes, you'll have to forgive me. But anyway, Sleetbreaker, solid. Here, we get the Windchill. I'm not sure how great Windchill is going to be against the Odd Hunter. Beyond the Leper Gnomes and the questline reward, what other minions do they really play? Some of them may play Beardo, but in general, there aren't going to be many immediate targets for Windchill. And I think that makes the matchup against Hunter a little bit harder. I find that this deck does incredibly well against Pirate Warrior, but maybe would struggle a little bit more against Hunter. However, there is a Windchill target if we want to take advantage of that here. Do we want to take advantage of that? Do we want to cast Windchill on that 1/1? See, this is where I think I need a little bit of guidance on decision making. I think we definitely want to block out some spells, and I think we can get another Windchill back to hand. So I put two things on the board, made the spells a little bit more expensive. Was that better than drawing a card through Windchill? I'm not entirely sure. So Boltzmann, if you're watching this, tell me if I've screwed this up, please. Okay, 4-cost kill command. They are going all face here. They're racing me down. But I have Loatheb. So hopefully, no more spells for the hunter on this turn. And as I do get worried about my health total, of course, we get the Armor Vendor. And that's going to help us quite significantly. The EnDjinn deck that I played yesterday did not have Armor Vendors. And I honestly missed that armor when I was playing the EnDjinn deck. I was, in my brain, I'm conditioned to think of Armor Vendor when I think of Shudderwock Shaman, right? And without the Armor Vendors, I felt like I was just missing that armor, where I felt it could have just have helped me survive a little bit longer in some of those games. The opponent is throwing these spells onto my minions here. There's Tavish. These spells are not hitting me in the face. That is quite a comforting thought. But there are 3 Leper Gnomes on the board. Can we get Tavish? No, we can't. That's so annoying. Oh, this could have been game over if we just pulled the Tavish, because then we could have frozen it, and then frozen it again, and then waited for our Flurgle Toxin combo to go off. This is frustrating. So I'm freezing the Lepinomes. I don't know. We need to get rid of the card draw, obviously. And do we play the Macaw here? Or do we just Hero Power? Or do we draw for Flurgle? I'm drawing for Flurgle. In the past, I would hold off on playing Ice Fishing until the turn that I was going to play the combo, just to avoid giving my opponent information that I had to have Flurgle Toxin in hand. But here it didn't matter. We knew they were always going to play Tavish, right? No matter what. Because they need to get the Tavish effect in play for the Hero Power. Okay. Let's remove this board. Alright, nice little rainbow there. I do quite like that effect. It's pretty cute. But here they go, with the hero powering. The endless hero powering to my face. But we have a Shudderwock for turn 9. Is this a turn where I would like to commit the Shudderwock? Or not? I'm going to commit it. Because we do have Zola in hand. So we can get a copy of the Shudderwock back to hand next turn. They can't remove both of these, for sure. Or at least I hope they can't. Okay. You're going to remove one of them? Yeah, you're going to remove one of them. Okay. The Loatheb Battlecry really, I guess, coming in handy. Yes, this Shudderwock surviving at 1 health here. So we definitely want a Zola, for sure. And freeze the board? Or are we going to draw cards? I think freeze the board is okay. And we'll just stop there. What I could have done is I could have played 3 Windchills. 1 on each Lepinome, drawn 3 cards. But I'm liking the idea of getting this glorious Battlecry into the pool. So that when we do play our next Shudderwock, we will have the Snowfall Guardian Battlecry in play. So we can continue freezing these Lepinomes. And do note, we do have the Wind Fury in hand. It is easy to forget about that sometimes. Now, out of reflex, 12:23 AM in the morning, feeling tired, I've just played the Armor Vendor. Now, of course, realising that the Armor Vendor Battlecry will be repeated if I were to play the Macaw, as opposed to the Shudderwock Battlecry being repeated. So I think that was a misplay. I should not have played the Armor Vendor. I don't need the extra armor at this point in the game. So yeah, it was just a misplay. That's me not paying attention. But in the end, I don't think it really matters. because we got the Wind Fury, and they were not able to clear a Shudderwock. So here I'm just drawing cards because I can, just want to see what I can get. Alright, we'll end this game now with the Wind Fury. 1 copy of Wind Fury in this deck, not 2. I think you find sometimes that Wind Fury can end up as a dead card until you can actually play it on something. So better to have 1 copy, I think, rather than 2. Okay, next game is another Pirate Warrior. All I'm facing at Diamond 3 is Pirate Warriors and Odd Hunters, as was the case at Diamond 5 and Diamond 4. I am not facing players now that, you know, are playing the new cards. When I played the EnDjinn deck, I had a small number of games where I was facing off meta decks, but then it all just reverted back to Pirate Warrior and Questline Hunter. I guess people just want to get Legend, right? They just want to get Legend so they'll play the most efficient decks. And I guess they're trying to farm other players who are experimenting with new cards. It's a smart strategy. It makes logical sense if all you want is efficiency and wins. So I've played Ice Fishing there. They know I have Flurgle in hand. Thus I want to see what else will they commit to this board. Okay, it's just the weapon. So, do I need to go off here with Flurgle? Is this board threatening enough? Or can I stall a little bit longer? Decisions, decisions, decisions. I'm gonna delay. And we'll just freeze one thing here. Okay, Armor Vendor is very helpful. Always a welcome sight, as I mentioned in the previous game. Oh, was not expecting the Captain. That's more damage that's going to be coming towards my face. But it is interesting to note they've committed the Captain, knowing that I could just go off with Flurgle on this turn. And in fact, I have to. I have no choice. Oh no, actually, I have a choice. I've got Snowfall Guardian to board lock them. That's even better. Alright. So now, if we can keep the board locked, if we can draw into a bird next turn, or another Snowfall Guardian, we can keep them board locked. Nope, no bird. So, we have to clear the board. But we are going to cash in on the Wind Fury now. We've now put them under a significant level of pressure. This play is saying that they need to kill me this turn, or they are dead next turn. In terms of us dying on this turn, what could kill us? I think is the question. 3 cannon shots, maybe? But I mean, the chances of enough cannon shots hitting my face... Oh, it's low, right? Yeah. Our minions are probably going to absorb a chunk of that damage, so I think we were always safe, right? So there we go. A pretty cute win against Pirate Warrior. So, ladies and gentlemen, Boltzmann's Freeze Shudderwock Shaman, a bonus Sunday video for everyone here. But my reason for publishing this video today was Firstly, to showcase a Boltzmann deck, which is always amazing to showcase, but secondly, to give you all an opportunity to compare this deck with the EnDjinn deck that I played yesterday and published that video yesterday. So this has given you an idea of two different Freeze Shudderwock Shaman decks with somewhat different deck compositions. Obviously the common factor in both decks is that they play the Shudderwock, but in general they are still relatively different. So I guess both decks were strong. Both decks have given me a positive win rate against some of the top tier meta decks that are out there, like Pirate Warrior. Ultimately, which one do I prefer? I'm going to go with the Boltzmann deck, purely because of the armor vendors, right? I absolutely adore armor vendors. I think they're absolutely great. Additional survivability from those cards I think can just make the difference, and the double healing rain I think is key as well. Don't forget that if you're facing lots of odd hunters, then you could put in the spell with Jeweler as opposed to one copy of healing rain, and I think that can make a difference in that matchup. But yes, modify the deck as you see the need depending on the meta that you are facing. Now, before we finish today's video, I just wanted to let everyone know that if you are interested in the Shaman class, if you're interested in Shudderwock Shaman, but in other kinds of Shaman too, do yourselves a favour, head over to the For Doomhammer Discord server, which is the Shaman-specific Discord server that I have promoted in a number of my previous videos. But what this place is all about is providing a positive space to discuss all things Shaman-based, whether it's Shudderwock Shaman or other kinds of Shaman deck, with a group of people that are just really passionate about the Shaman class. And if you look at the various subsections of that server, and if you look at Wild Shaman in particular, you've got some sections on a Wild Crafting Guide, which is a great read. You've got a general Shudderwock section, there's Aggro Wild, Big Giants, Burn Wild, Elemental Wild, Even Wild, Evolve Wild, if you want to spice things up, Freeze Wild, which is very relevant for the current meta, and it goes on with Galakron, Murlocs, N'Zoth, The Quest, and Reno. Okay, so if you're interested in Wild Shaman, so many different sections there on this Discord server where you can have a positive discussion with other people, share deck ideas, share deck thoughts, discuss concepts, talk about what works, what doesn't work, what is changing in the meta. And as I say, a safe, positive space in order to have these conversations. And why is that unique? Because in social media, in the current climate, there's a lot of toxicity, there's a lot of negativity, and in all of the time that I have been engaged with the denizens of this server, I have experienced nothing but positivity and respect, and just great core communicative values that are missing, I think, in other spaces in the online world. So if you want to join the server, the link is in the video description below. So thank you very much for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you all again very soon for more Wild Mode fun. But until next time, please stay safe, please look after yourselves, and as always, please be good to one another.